or they,
Yeah, they're on Teams, I'll just,
if they're on Teams currently, we're 2 minutes out, but
okay,
no sense in making them wait if they're already ready to go.
I'm just gonna turn their windows bigger. Okay,
Alright, so good morning, just checking if you can hear us.
Yeah, morning. I can hear you fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. I'll start here. We'll just do a quick round of introductions around the table so you know who we got in the room here. We'll start in the far end there with, Josh. There we go.
Hello, my name is Joshua Raposo. I'm acting for Joan Slutway. She's on vacation right now. Acting for the Director of Community Services.
My name is John Orwa, Director of Finance.
Good morning, my name is Karen St. Martin. I'm counselor for Whitecourt East.
I'm counselor for Goose Lake, Peter Kilkin, counselor for Goose Lake, Freeman River.
Dave Cush. I'm the Reeve of the county and the council for Ensemble. We met at RMA.
Jenna Wright, I'm counselor for Blue Ridge.
Patricia McNeil, I'm counselor for Whitecourt West.
Benny Witten, counselor for Timu Fort Assiniboine, and we also met at the RMA.
Matthew Ferris, CAO.
Greg Edwards, Director of Infrastructure.
Thank you. With that, I'll leave it up to you. Thank you.
Yes, sounds great. Am I able to share, like if I shared some slides, would you guys be able to see in the room? I just was wondering if I can share a presentation deck with y'all. If I have the ability to share my screen, you just let me know. I can't hear you right now. No. Can you hear me? I'm also, you know what? Maybe I can share the slide deck after the fact. I just, it's also saying that I'm having issues like on my end with Teams to present. So maybe we can just do the speaking portion and I can share the slide deck afterwards if that works on your end. Okay, cool. Yeah, I can't hear you. I see the messages, so I think we're good to go. So I think we'll get into this. Yeah, good morning, Council. Thank you for the invitation to speak with you today. It was great meeting Reeve Cush and Councillor Witten at the RMA convention back in March. Today, we want to talk to you about a problem you're very familiar with, the crisis of oil and gas cleanup in Alberta. For the last 8 months, we've been traveling across the province, hosting town halls in rural communities and in urban centers to talk about the issue. What we're seeing on our end is an upswell of anger and frustration everywhere we're going. Landowners are becoming so frustrated that they're taking action on their own. They're tearing up leases. They're blocking access to well sites. The media is picking up on this story in ways they haven't in the past. We're seeing consistent media attention, both local, provincial, and national. And the regulator seems to be starting to slowly feel that pressure. These changes aren't just something that we're doing. It's building off the work that counties like yourselves, the RMA, and others have been leading. like speaking publicly about unpaid taxes. But it does feel like something is starting to shift in Alberta around the issue. Today, we're going to focus on 3 positive changes that we see happening on our end. One way that things could get a lot worse, and some clear next steps your council could take to act on this issue today. But first, I'm going to just take a second to properly introduce myself and my colleague. My name is Philip Meinzer. I'm from Calgary. I was born and raised here. I'm the co-founder of the Coalition for Responsible Energy. And yes, I'll let Dwight introduce himself next. We're a group of landowners, farmers, scientists, policy experts, and just ordinary concerned Albertans that first came together due to shared concerns about the Alberta Energy Regulator. We're running our Clean Up Your Mess campaign to organize Albertans concerned about this crisis of oil and gas cleanup, as well as unpaid rents and unpaid taxes to municipalities. And Dwight, along with other landowners in our group, have been a key part of our efforts. Over to Dwight.
Good morning, Council. My name is Dwight Popovich. I live on a 75-acre parcel of farmland near Two Hills. I have an orphan sequoia well in my alfalfa field. I'm retired, but spend my time as a property rights and taxpayer rights advocate. The well on my land is one of 470,000 wells drilled in Alberta over the past century. These wells are everywhere. They're in the middle of farmers' fields, on public land, on reserves, and in urban areas. Nearly 270,000 of these wells are at the end of their lives. They are not producing much or have been inactive for decades, and all of them need to be cleaned up.
Yeah, thanks, Dwight. So some of you may be wondering, what's cleanup going to cost? Different researchers have put the total at anywhere between $60 to $70 billion, and that's just for the wells alone. That doesn't include the facilities or the 450,000 kilometers of pipeline across the province. All of these wells will break down and leak eventually. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Wells leak toxins like benzene and methane, posing serious risks to crops, to drinking water, and the health of people and animals that live nearby. So who's on the hook for all of this? As you may know, in Canada and in Alberta, the polluter pays principle is the law. It's pretty simple. You make a mess, you clean it up. It means that companies don't just have like a moral obligation to clean this up, it's the law. But in Alberta, that principle isn't being properly enforced, and we would argue hasn't been for decades. Increasingly, companies are dining on the profits and dashing on their bills. From 2010 to 2024, taxpayers paid $150 million to landowners on behalf of delinquent companies. And they're also not paying the taxes that they owe you. I know RMA has said that it was $250 million or just over that in 2025, plus millions that have already been written off.
As a rural ratepayer, here's what I find surprising. According to the RMA, in 2024, nearly 40% of the unpaid taxes were by companies still in operation. We're not talking about bankrupt companies, but the industry as a whole treating taxes as optional. We're seeing the same with rents, and this impunity seems to be fueling the growing anger we're seeing at our town halls. People like me took on these wells thinking we were doing the right thing, and see now that we're being betrayed and left holding the bag. It's unfair for communities like yours to write off industry debts, forcing you to cut services or raise taxes on everyone else while these companies run off with the profits.
Yeah, okay, so based on the data that we have available, either through the AER or through the Investigative Journalism Foundation, we know that there are around 2,600 unreclaimed wells in Woodlands County, and that you were owed around $1.3 million in unpaid taxes as of 2024, but that might not be the full picture. It's just what's available from what we could find. For those 2,600 wells in your county, we did some rough estimates to see what the cost of cleanup would be, and we found it to be around somewhere in the 700 million range. Obviously, this is a big number, and we know that those cleanup costs won't fall on the county itself directly. But we think it's important to remember that it's not just about the cleanup bill, it's the threat to local health and the hectares of land that can't be sold or put to other productive uses. And okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about the government's latest scheme to address this problem. You may have heard about it already. It's called the Mature Asset Strategy. It's framed as a solution, but it's a plan that's written by industry and for industry. 70 of the 98 participants in the Mature Asset Strategy process were from the oil and gas industry. And we heard from folks on the inside that they were pushing for lower taxes, lower rents, and more public handouts. In fact, the Rural Municipalities Association felt that the Mature Asset Strategy process was so predetermined that they actually called for it to be scrapped on multiple occasions. The Mature Asset Strategy has 21 recommendations, but today I'll just share the top 3 that are most alarming. The first is that they're proposing to weaken reclamation standards. They want to make it cheaper for companies, which risks leaving land contaminated. They're asking landowners and municipalities to take a haircut on unpaid taxes to help industry reduce costs instead of just enforcing the existing rules. And they're proposing to create these new semi-public entities to take over distressed assets. So they're calling them Harvest Co. and Closure Co. And they could be used to sort of take on thousands of wells that are at the end of their life and move the cleanup costs from companies onto the public. If this plan is enacted, we're talking about tens of billions of dollars of liabilities being shifted to the public purse. And that then sends a signal to industry that their impunity is being rewarded. And so we felt that this was unacceptable, and so we got to work as a group. As I said before, we've been organizing town halls across the province, online and in person, with good crowds at every stop. The comment we are hearing the most, whether in rural or in cities, is that Albertans feel like we have to pay our bills, why doesn't the oil and gas industry? So we're sensing a bit of a shift in Alberta, and here are 3 things that we see emerging over the past year. The first is that Albertans want oil and gas companies to pay their bills. We conducted polling last year with Janet Brown Opinion Research that showed a super majority support across Alberta. 92% of Albertans want the oil and gas industry to pay for its cleanup. But what was interesting is that 87% of Albertans polled want the industry as a whole to cover unpaid taxes. So even if companies are bust or gone bankrupt, they want the industry to share the costs for unpaid taxes. And 84% say the same thing for unpaid rent to landowners. 87% thought that industry as a whole should be covering those unpaid rents. What was interesting about the polling that we had conducted and the findings is that Janet Brown herself commented that it's rare to see this level of consensus, especially across both rural and urban areas. Albertans were united on this issue more than others that we're dealing with. We're also seeing similar sentiments at our town halls, like last November in Calgary, where 200 people showed up, both from in the city, but also ranchers, farmers. We had teachers, we had students there, people young and old. They all showed up and they were all fed up at the double standard for oil and gas companies. And last September in Warburg near Edmonton, in front of 150 people, the chief of staff of Brian Jean, our energy minister, his chief of staff was jeered throughout his presentation on the Mature Asset Strategy. The second thing we're seeing, and I'll send you the slides, but I was hoping to show some photos of these people we've been working with. But the second thing we're seeing is that landowners like Bright and like others are speaking up. They're taking action and they're fighting back. So we've been working with a woman named Teresa. She's a landowner from near Vermilion. The health and well-being of her family and her animals are being harmed by venting from a well on her property. She shared her story publicly last fall, and her video has over 50,000 views on YouTube and has received national news coverage. And then many of you may have seen this news, but a man named Mark Doran exercised his legal rights to block access to the well site on his land to lock out a company called Maga Energy back in March, after the company had failed to pay him for 3 years. His action got coverage on every major news network. And then also last month at the start of April, a group called the Alberta Surface Rights Federation, which represents landowners, held their 2026 AGM. And at that meeting, they decided that they are now instructing landowners against entering into surface lease agreements with companies voluntarily. And then the third thing we're seeing is that a result of part 1 and part 2 that I was just talking about is that the regulator is feeling the pressure and being forced to act. A lot of us have concerns with the Alberta Energy Regulator, but after Mark's action at his property, Mega Energy was thrown into the spotlight. The AER's CEO was questioned in the legislature on why the AER allowed Mega to acquire new licenses, despite already owing more than $200,000 in taxes. And then the next thing we knew is that the AER announced that Mega was being forced to shut down. This is an example that shows that public pressure and people taking action can force the hand of this government and the regulator. And we just think that this is an important lesson for others impacted by this issue. So we'd like to sort of like close the presentation with just some ideas of things that you can do right now as a county, ways you can take action and ways that we can work together. So 3 things that we can do right now are the first is updating and publicizing your list of tax dodgers. So your county can publish updated lists of companies that aren't paying their taxes. You could do this annually, you could do it quarterly by making it public on your website or posting a list at City Hall to increase transparency. The transparency about Mega Energy is what led to Mark's action and forced the AER to shut them down. And silence is what keeps the problem going. The public needs to know who is responsible for their tax hikes or the loss of their services. You can also co-host information sessions. You can hold a public hearing to hear how landowners are impacted and what they're experiencing on their properties. Or you could work with us or any of our partners, like the Service Rights Federation, to co-host information sessions in your county to help your ratepayers and landowners take action. Like what happened with Mark Doran, landowners can terminate lease agreements and refuse access to their land. It's a powerful way for counties and landowners to work together to put pressure back on companies to pay their bills or to force the regulator's hand. The third and final thing you can do is, council has the ability to pass motions, and you could maybe pass a motion to send a letter to the government or your MLA. You can do this on your own or jointly with other counties. We think that it's important for the government to know that their base is unhappy and that there's no appetite for further subsidies and letting industry walk away from its commitments to us. We just think it's important that you let the government know, you let your MLAs know that you oppose the mature asset strategy and you're demanding change on this front. So in closing, there's no question that this is a frustrating and overwhelming issue that can seem like impossible at times, but we wouldn't be here today if we didn't genuinely believe there's a shift happening and an opportunity to hold industry accountable. Rural Alberta is being taken for granted by both the government and industry. The people we're talking to are at their wits' end and want to work together to fight back. So thank you for having us, and we're happy to take questions and discuss if there's still time. Oh yeah, sounds great. Okay, cool. I'll just mute myself and turn off my camera for a second, and I'll send Tracy a copy of the presentation.
Can you hear us on that end?
Yeah,
Yes,
loud and clear on my end, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start, Councillor Whitten had a question.
Through the Reeve to the delegation, like we've discussed this at RMA, but there's a lot of the energy companies are asking for lower taxes to be paid and everything, and lower rents and stuff. But it still don't matter if you're lowering the taxes or the rents, they're still not paying them. So it doesn't matter if you go into a deal to get them to lower anything, they're simply just not paying. So, I mean, that's kind of a lot crying wolf through me. And another one, I just want council as a whole to realize that every landowner can get paid their taxes if they apply through the Alberta government. Everyone can get paid their lease rents, but it comes from taxpayers' dollars. So everybody can get paid, but everyone has to realize that our taxes are gonna go up because of this. If we put that out there that everybody will get paid, but I mean, it's at the expense of every taxpayer in the province, so.
Any other questions?
It's the position,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, it's the position of the Alberta Citrus Rights Federation that all these taxes and any compensation being paid to landowners that the taxpayers are now paying through Section 36 should actually be coming from the Orford Well Association. If we really have a polluter pays principle, that is who should be paying.
Questions, comments, Councillor Kuchen?
Yeah, through the chair to the delegation. One of the things that I think would help to understand is that seeing that you have so much response both from the rural municipalities and from the urban ones, the social economic impact of this has not been measured, and I think that is a part that we deal with as a municipality. We deal with the fact that we have to increase taxes to keep service levels up, and then we have continuously have players who don't pay. So then it affects everything, and so I think in a real dive into the social economic impact would probably be beneficial.
Yeah. I would like to just, I would like to respond to that. RMA convention, part of why we were there is like to meet folks like yourselves, but we, on this issue, when we're touring around, if the media comes to us with questions, oftentimes they'll ask us like, what is the actual impact to rural municipalities and to counties, like to your operating budgets? What are things that you've had to cut? So I totally agree. I think there needs to be sort of a socioeconomic assessment that like just looks at like across Alberta for the things that counties and have blocked to show what is the impact to people from this. But yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Councillor McNeil?
Through the chair to the delegation. Thank you, gentlemen. My question was, of the 21 points in the report, the mature asset strategy, you noted 3 that you had particular issue with. I'm curious of the ones that you do support. If you could speak to that.
Do I do it? Do you want it, or I can do it? Whatever you.
You go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. There are grains of maybe good in there that are buried amongst the bad. Like they do propose what they're calling like asset attached liabilities. So just making sure that those liabilities stay with like the wells when they're transferred, rather than the liability being attached to the company that could then go bust. So that's long overdue. So that's one that we would support and that other experts have supported, but it's it's not just the 3 we have problems with, there are others in there too, but yes, there's a kernel of good in there, but we're concerned that it's buried amongst all the other bad stuff that they're trying to do.
Council? Not seeing anything else. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. I know we had a big discussion on this at RMA, and it is on a lot of municipalities' forefronts on what we're dealing with and what we need to try to resolve here. So again, thank you for the presentation and for your time. And with that, if I can get a motion from council to accept the presentation. Councillor Whitten?
I'll move that council receive the presentation from Mr. Philip Meitzner and Mr. Dwight Popovich, members of the Coalition for Responsible Energy Alberta, for information.
Councillor, discussion on the motion? Seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. And Councillor St. Martin?
Mr. Reeve, I'm wondering if we should maybe, I can present a motion that council direct administration to bring back a recommendation on the three items that were mentioned by C4RE. If we should proceed as they had recommended. So one is to update and advertise companies that aren't paying the orphan well taxes, co-host information sessions, and a motion to send a letter to the MLA were the three recommendations.
Okay, is that a motion on the floor then?
Yes.
Okay, accept the motion. Councillor McNeil?
Speaking to the motion, my concern is the clarity around updating and publicizing the list of tax dodgers as was the way it was described. I think that we should have a process around identifying what that would be, so that would be my concern, is that I think that we need clarity around that.
I believe if I can refer to the CAO, if this comes back, for another discussion further on, that a lot of that information would have to get cleared out first.
Yeah, through the chair, we'd vet that and provide a recommendation that incorporates that concern. Absolutely.
Okay, so motion on the floor. Any other discussion to the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Again, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to bylaws and policies, 7.1, bylaw 638-26, procedural bylaw, and just checking with administration. From what I see here, we do have the updated with the administrative changes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Do we have to, or anybody want more further discussion on the procedural bylaw that was presented at GMP that we moved? Councillor McNeil?
Yes, just bear with me for 1 second, I need to pull up my notes. Oh, sorry, I'll defer to Councillor St. Martin if she's ready.
Councillor St. Martin?
Mr. Reeve, I haven't had time to review that bylaw that was sent out this morning. I don't know if we can take 5 minutes to read it.
I haven't had time either.
Okay, we'll table 7.1 then for right now. Let's go to 7.2, bylaw 640-26, 2026 property tax bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve and members of council. Now, before you is the bylaw 640-26, 2026, which is the property tax rate bylaw. But first and foremost, before I proceed, I would like to thank all the council members for their valuable input throughout the process, especially the finance and committee members for their constructive feedback and guidance from early budget deliberations through to the tax bylaw stage. And I've incorporated all the concerns and all the areas that were identified to make our bylaw look good. So the purpose today, of course, is to present and provide this to council and the public, the overview of the proposed 2026 tax rate bylaw. And of course, we've factored in the 1.5% increase as directed by council. And the only thing that I would like to explain here, which is different from what you could have seen in the past, is on the tax rate versus the mill rate. Now, if you look at the presentation, what you have in the the bylaw, if you can bring the actual bylaw up on the board, you'll see the actual bylaw. You just go to the tax, continue. That's just assessment. Yeah, if you look at that, if you stop there, we are expressing it as a tax rate because the mill rate is the amount of tax charged per 1,000 as of the assessed value. And I think in the previous years you were seeing the mill rate there, and I think there was some confusion there. So I just converted into the tax rate. So if you want to get back to the mill rate, you would multiply that by 1,000 and you'll get your 3.2 something. So that is the major change that is out there compared to the previous presentations of the bylaw. The other thing is some of the areas, I know there were some rounding areas that were also identified, and that's why I was thanking the committee members as well. So those ones have been identified and factored in, and I think our presentation now looks and it's aligned properly when you had the math. And because of the tax rate, I've now extended it to 7 decimal points, and that brings some variance that you might see, because if you look at what I could have expressed in the RFD, I think there was a generation of 1627, 164, 873 versus the 973 on the actual bylaw. And I think that is part of the rounding that I was talking about. Although it's not very significant, as had already been pointed by some members of the committee, and I really appreciate that. I think with that, I would just maybe open the floor, and the administration is just seeking for a council to at least process all the motion so that we can get ready to release the tax notices.
Thank you. Mr. Orwa, any further discussion on the tax rate bylaw? Councillor Neal?
I'm prepared to move that council give first reading to bylaw 63826 the council give first reading to bylaw 64026 being the 2026 property tax rate bylaw.
Thank you, Councillor. Discussion to the motion? Not seeing it, call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Councillor St. Martin?
I'm prepared to move that council give second reading to bylaw 640-26 being the 2026 property tax rate bylaw.
Thank you, Councillor. Discussion? Seeing it, call that question. All in favor? It's carried. Motion 3, Councillor Coogan.
I'll move that council proceed to third and final reading of bylaw 640-26 being the 2026 property tax rate bylaw.
Thank you, Councillor. I need unanimous to be able to continue. Call the question. All in favor? That's carried. We do have unanimous. And final, Councillor St. Martin.
I'll move that council gives third and final reading to bylaw 640-26 being the 2026 property tax rate bylaw.
Thank you, Councillor. Again, call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Brings us to 7.3, public participation policy, G-1.003.
Chris, this was previously brought before GMP, and they had recommended that it be amended as presented and provided to council for adoption. We're requesting the council adopts the policy as presented, or amend the policy as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Any further discussion on Councillor Wright?
I was just prepared to make the motion.
Okay.
That council amend policy G-1.003 being the public participation policy as presented.
Councillor, any discussion to the motion? Seeing any, call that question. All in favor? That is carried. Get down to new business, 8.1, Eagle River Provincial Rec Area Operating Agreement. Mrs. Anderson, good morning.
Good morning, Region Council.
Good morning.
Good
morning. Well, you even got the yellow vest and the yellow shirt.
Because I'm sunshine.
That's
sunshine.
right, exactly.
I get teased about this jacket from somebody else that I work with who says I look like Curious George's handler. So I don't have my boot or my hat on today. What I do before you is an opportunity, very exciting opportunity for another recreation site. Our empire is growing. We were approached by the government of Alberta to take over operations of the Eagle River staging area. Is everybody basically familiar with that, where we're located? Okay. So the Trailblazers, just to give you some highlights, the Trailblazer group usually, I shouldn't say usually, they were the ones that operated that site. They kept it open during the summer months. It's available for rentals for $200 a night. They maintained it also as a staging area in the winter for their club. They have since told the government of Alberta they're not interested in doing that anymore, so we've been approached to take over the operations for that. We see tremendous opportunities in that as well, so we thought that we would go out and we went out and visited the site. We had our recreation staff go out and actually assess and say, okay, what would this look like? What are we looking at for man hours? What are we looking at for our own investment? And I can tell you that the province has put in about $1 million in upgrades to that site. There's a new, it's a warming shelter, but it looks like a community hall to me. It's a massive sized a hall. It's a little bit bigger than a cook shack, but it's not quite a hall, to be honest with you, but it is a fair size, and there's a little warming, it's like a furnace, not a furnace, a cook stove, thank you, I couldn't even, my words are missing me today. They've also built a little site there that has a big barbecue, a group fire pit, they put in a tetherball, they're putting in new washrooms, and they've landscaped and opened up the area. So they've done a lot of work, and they're asking us to just go in and mow and maintain. We wouldn't have any capital investment. If anything major happens, they would fix it. We would be on the hook for, say, if a lock broke off the cook shack, we'd put a lock on, but nothing major. And also because these are all new buildings, we're not anticipating any major repairs or infrastructure at this time. So currently, the way this looks, we're looking at, as mentioned in the RFD, that it would take about 8 to 12 man hours per use. So it's not, if it's rented, we'd have to do it. If it's not rented, we wouldn't have to go clean. There is a ball diamond out there that we would have to maintain if it doesn't get rented for a few weeks. We'd have to go out and mow it so that the grass doesn't get too high, and then what happens is then you go mow and the grass is hard, and those of you that have operated ball diamonds know that we have to maintain a certain level. But we're anticipating it being actually rented weekly during the summer. It's typically done as another like very similar to our Grout use, day use area that we have, and our Grout Creek group campsite is that it's rented for the weekend, for family reunions, for other things. But we're also seeing a huge potential to do some programming at this site if it's not rented. It's a huge area. We could host retreats there, or we could host other events with our ambassadors, just to increase recreation opportunities and programming. We also anticipate from the province, they said that the average income per year rentals is about 6,000 to 10,000. So we just did that little quick math and we thought, well, that'll at least offset most of the cost. So right now we see this mainly as a benefit as opposed to costing us money, and our rec staff say they can easily incorporate this into our existing service levels. It wouldn't take away from other sites. I'm trying to think of what other highlights I can give to you because this is so exciting. Maybe I can, everything else was in your RFD. I guess I can just take questions at this time without wasting your time.
Councillor St. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Wraith, through to Heather. Do we know why the Trailblazers don't wish to operate this any longer?
Not officially, no.
Okay. Are we aware of any vandalism of this site?
There has been some. We've talked to Trailblazers because we maintain a good relationship with them in other areas. There has been some, but the province hasn't indicated if they've had any recent ones that's other than maybe some trees get, like that's what we find at our sites, trees get chopped, people cut down things or they damage picnic tables. However, at this time, if there was anything major to that, that would be on the province. We would just let them know if there's any repairs needed.
Okay. I noted that on the Trailblazers Facebook page, there's quite a bit of cleanup with leaves every spring. Not sure if you took that into consideration. Also, per the Trailblazers Facebook page, they had shown quite a bit of damage to the trails due to vehicles driving on the trails. Not sure if that's been repaired through the province's improvements or upgrades. My question is, do we have to take on the trails as well as the site? Okay.
Through the chair to Councillor St. Martin, no, actually, this is just for the site itself. There is a large parking lot there where the trails go out from. So that access to those trails is not this site responsibility. We would only be responsible for that site.
Got one more follow-up, then we'll move over.
Okay, Mr. Reeve, I guess the agreement doesn't say that. The agreement incorporates the whole, it's total of, I don't know, about 50 acres of land, which includes the trail system, so I would question if that needs to be amended. The only other thing that I had was there's inconsistencies in the agreement. I guess the definition of the lease would be the lessor. And then throughout the agreement, it talks about contractor. And I think maybe they've cut and pasted two different lease agreements. So there's some inconsistencies there. And the operator, there's the use of the term operator, which isn't defined in the actual lease agreement. Thank you.
Ms. Sanderson?
Through the chair to Councillor St. Martin, so this was just a draft agreement that they've used as a template. You can honestly see as well that it still refers to the Queen, doesn't refer to King. So we've been told that once we are going to be entering into this will be completely updated and vetted through the CAO. And we would make sure all of those, so they were going to update it on there and they just said, here's an example of what has been used before.
Mr. Ferris, I think you wanted a clarification.
Through the chair to Councilor St. Martin, there was also, we did an on-site tour. And one thing that we did notice is they put a lot of really nice big windows in this cook shack. And we'd ask if there was a possibility of putting some type of shield over those windows, whether they be storm shutters or some other thing, and the province was open to that as a way to mitigate the potential vandalism, because they are really nice large windows, and some people either for intentional vandalism or just an accidental baseball or something like that is something we'd like to avoid, so they seem very open to that in our discussions as well.
Councilor Whitten?
Through the chair to Heather, I think this is a fantastic avenue for us to go. Like, I mean, it's another place that even as council, if we needed to go do something, we could. Like, it's not that far out, and I mean, it's a huge benefit to us as a county, something that we can add to our tours or whatever else. So, I mean, if there's no other questions, I would be willing to move.
Councilor McNeil?
I just had a couple of questions. I also think it's a good idea. I am concerned, it would be nice to know from a statement from the Trailblazers, like officially why they are giving it up. So I think that would be valuable information for council. And also that for the final agreement to come back to council would be what I'd like to see for final approval.
Thank you. Councilor Whitten, if you're going to make a motion.
Yep. I'll move that council authorize the CAO to enter into an operations and maintenance agreement with the province of Alberta for the Eagle River Provincial Recreational Area, subject to the final review of insurance and financial implications.
And Councilor, motion on the floor. Councilor McNeil?
Oh, thank you. Speaking to the motion, would you consider a friendly amendment for the agreement to come back to council?
Yep.
Okay.
So, motion to enter into the agreement to bring back to council for ratification. Any further discussion to the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much, Heather. 9.1, council report, to start with Councilor Whitten.
It was a very quiet last couple weeks between meetings. On the, what day was it that we went to? We went to the BART Council on the 28th, I think it was. Councillor Kuchen and I attended the BART workshop for security, and was truly amazed with the new technology out there with security cameras and stuff, and the way AI is implemented into it. It's amazing.
they're smarter than we are, they keep thinking all the time, so, and that was it.
Any other discussion for Councillor Whitten? Councillor McNeil?
Awesome, thanks. Actually, it was really busy on the personal side, not so much on the council side this time. So April 28th, we had our Economic Development Committee meeting. The biggest focus of that meeting was an update on our heavy industrial study. And the final report is due to come out for the end of May. So the committee was quite excited about some of the options that were brought forward. It was a really good interactive meeting, and we're really looking forward to seeing the results and the output from that report. Also, at that Economic Development Committee meeting, we were reviewing some of the proposed changes for the NRED project, and again, the committee was very happy with what administration presented. And just to kind of bring us into a direction of having real solid outputs coming out of that NRED project that we'll be able to market. So that's definitely a win. Saturday, I had the opportunity to attend Lobster Fest hosted by Rotary. It was such a fabulous event. I can't express just how pleased I was to see how well Rotary executes this event, how many volunteers they have, what a great organization they are for the community. And they had also announced a $50,000 donation towards the CT scanner project, which I'll kind of touch on as well here a little later, because on Tuesday I attended the Red Dress Day, the walk for raising awareness for murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls, that was hosted by the Whitecourt Indigenous Friends Society at Festival Park. And there was also a bison burger barbecue that was hosted by Champion X, I believe they're SLB, I think now, and just a really important event in our community that I am proud to have been able to attend. Also that evening, I attended the Forestry Open House at the Alan and Jean Miller Center and had some great conversation with Canfor, West Fraser, and the Fire Smart. Just essentially kind of getting, they were showing what they are going to be doing in their FMAs, forest management areas this year. But also what I thought was important was just seeing that areas that had been identified as potential fire smart issues had been accelerated in those cut blocks, like around the Blue Ridge area, for example, was one area. So it just meant that they were able to access those blocks a little bit earlier to offer that bit of extra fire smarting protection. So seeing those organizations all work together is definitely a win for the community. And then Wednesday, I attended with H Park, the Health Practitioners and Attraction and Retention Committee. So a hospital tour. And it was the first time I had the opportunity of, obviously lived here a long time, been at various spots in the hospitals, but it was the first time ever having a tour like this. And what was so clearly apparent is the level of amazing staff that we do have and how passionate they are about wanting to attract, new opportunity for a hospital, new workers to the hospital, and really seeing the level of care for what they're putting in for advocacy. Things that, basically, of course, number one on the wish list is a new hospital, which, is something that that we all know about, of course, in the area. But with the CT scanner project, that was listed as essentially the number one wish that they could, that's relatively accessible. And kind of tying back to what the Friends of Whitecourt Society have been working on with their project. On March 20th, they reported that they've committed $1.5 million to the CT project and that there's still approximately $1 million needed. So what I was unofficially told is that once the full funding is received, then they're still looking at about an 18-month implementation to get that up and running. They do have staff already that is trained to use it. Alberta Health Services apparently have also mentioned that they are willing to staff it once it's there. But to put it in perspective and why it's so important, one of the third things on the the next thing on the list was the impact to EMS and the ambulance support. And what happens with not having a CT scanner, for example, if we have somebody, and I can speak personally to this, a year ago when my husband was very ill, he was in the hospital in Whitecourt, had to go to Edmonton for a CT scan. It tied up, we had to wait for an ambulance to be available. So they go to Edmonton for the scan, the ambulance has to wait for him while he has the scan and then come back. And we're really tying up these emergency services and transporting people all around. And if we could have that scanner here locally, we'd really be able to service some of the areas like, you know, Greenview, Fox Creek, Swan Hills, you know, it's not just our own community. And we're getting closer, and we'd really like to see with the drive coming from the public, if, you know, I'd be open to council discussing in the future how we can further support this project and find some other ways to accelerate to help them raise this other $1 million, because it certainly will be beneficial for our community. And having the CT scanner is also a big part of the attraction for attracting surgeons and doctors and so on to our area. So another thing that was noted was when we had spoke to one of the department involving home care, and they said they had approximately 300 patients in our Whitecourt Woodlands area that they provide home care services for. And I thought that was something also very valuable for council to be aware of, because particularly what we're looking at is access to our residents in some of our rural areas can be incredibly difficult. And it's one thing in the cities where they have some private companies and they have like private-public partnerships and so on that can do both of these, but at the moment, we don't have a lot of private access to be able to help our residents in some of these areas. So that was a need that was, again, a little bit sobering. And what I also found kind of sobering going through the hospital is the areas like the doctor's lounge, the area where they do telehealth, where people go for their medical, a lot of times psychological online sessions and so on, is essentially the hospital is so full that it's down a hallway. Like when I saw even where the doctor's lounge was, I thought, wow, it's pretty depressing. You know, when they're trying to just get a little bit of respite, you know, for some time off in between while they're on their shift and so on. So there's definitely issues with that building, and, you know, I think ideally it would be something if there's, I know healthcare is outside of the municipal purview, but if we can get together with our regional partners and find a way to accelerate, you know, this would definitely be important. So, and also I just wanted to finally give an extra additional shout out to the Friends of Whitecourt Society, because when we were going through, the staff was really vocal about pointing out all the things that the Friends of Whitecourt Society has purchased. And it's not just extras and add-ons. Some of it's life-saving equipment that AHS wouldn't replace. And, you know, it's very concerning to me when you'd seen that, and, you know, just kudos to all the volunteers in our region that support that organization, and seeing it's everything from, they had tubes that, excuse me, pardon me, for camera for intubating people, to babies, to the new mattress in the doctor's lounge, you know, all stuff provided by Friends of Whitecourt. So that wrapped up my report. Thank you.
Councillor, discussion with Councillor Camille.
Pardon me.
Councillor Wright.
Okay. So we did 2 Fire Smart events in Blue Ridge for the community. One was kid focused and one was more so community. The day that we did that, April 30th, we actually had a local farm grass fire. So the Blue Ridge and Goose Lake Fire Department did respond to that. Luckily, they got it under control. Wildfire did come out for that one as well. No one was harmed, so that was a good turnout at the end. On their way over to do our Fire Smart event, they actually stopped a tanker truck who was unaware that he was on fire with fuel. So they caught him just before he hit the Blue Ridge lumber there, got him put out, came over to our event, and we were trying to figure out if we had jinxed the situation or not. Then shortly after on May 2nd, we did have that big wildfire that was caused by the car fire on Highway 43. There was one home that had slight damage to it, just some melting siding. I believe from what I had heard, they were told to evacuate. They chose not to, and them staying and helping assist with the fire is the main thing that did save their home. Other than that, no animals or homes, nothing was burnt down, so it turned out to be a lot better than what it could have happened. I just wanted to thank the Blue Ridge and Selma, Whiteport, and Mayorthorpe Fire Departments. They were there, they did an amazing job, and then wildfire came in and they were awesome. They stayed on scene for days. They made sure it wasn't going to flare back up. There were a couple flare-ups, but nothing out of control. So I thought we should definitely recognize the hard work that they put in. There was long days, a lot of stress and chaos. Other than that, I had one committee meeting. It was our Protective Services one. There we just finalized the community priorities plan, which had been brought to council already that we had voted on. So they have our three main sections that they're gonna focus on. So at this point, they're putting together an action plan and they'll give us more information on that as it's built.
Thank you, Councillor. Discussion with Councillor Wright. Stanley, Councillor St. Martin.
I attended the Intermunicipal Collaboration Framework Committee meeting on April 24th. I also attended the Economic Development Committee meeting on April 28th. Really appreciate that we were able to give input on the one design that we had received. Hopefully we'll see some changes to that design for the heavy industrial site. Also, I have attended the Whitecourt Community Services Advisory Committee Strategic Planning Session at the casino on Saturday. I also shared Woodlands County's social need assessment with that committee so that they can incorporate some of the county's priorities into their future planning. And on May 4th, I attended the staff recognition event and thank staff on behalf of council for the work that they do every day. And that concludes my report.
Any discussion with Councillor St. Martin? Councillor Coogan?
Yeah, I attended on the 24th our Growth Alberta Partnership Board meeting to discuss some of the basically to discuss the response that we had from Northwest of 16 as to our tourism collaboration program. Then on the 28th, I attended the BARC security thing there with Benny, and that was really quite. It was a good event. And one of the things that we have is we have a technician in the area that is able to serve anybody who chooses to go down the path with this company. So that's unique. It's even though that company was from Manitoba, correct? So, but they have a local tech rep that is able to help you with your tech support, which is important for people who are tech challenged like myself. On the 4th of May, I attended a meeting with Hillcrest Cemetery people, and just trying to figure out what we're going to do there. And then on the 8th of May, subsequent to the board meeting, as to try to meet or met with the Wild Tourism Launch team to figure out what our next steps are going to be. And I think that there's going to be an attempt to do soft launch to just get an understanding and a feel of what kind of uptake there is in that. So, and that is my report.
Thank you, Councillor. Discussion with Councillor Coogan. Councilor Martin?
Mr. Reeves, through to Councilor Clukin, with the BARC program, is there a way that we can utilize that better in Woodlands County? Whether it's information sharing or, I don't know, if there can be some sort of partnership with maybe the Whitecourt detachment, cause I think the Barhead detachment is involved in BARC.
I think they're looking to expand, that was a workshop, and I think they were definitely looking to expand it regionally. It was one that was sponsored by BARC, I believe.
By BARC, yeah.
And so, yeah, that it definitely is something that is of value, at least for information. I think there's lots of companies that are out there that are setting up security systems. But what was remarkable for both Ben and I was the fact that these are affordable things for people that, they showed the actual, what you have if you have one incident, what you lose compared to what the cost of a reasonably good system is. So there is definitely something that could be done with the detachment here, I'm sure.
And to that, I know that there's been discussion in the past at the Protective Services where they have talked about BARC and using BARC in the area out here. And they've said in the past that they feel that it would lose the benefit of what it is by overexpanding the region, because if you have an incident in Barhead that isn't relative to people in Whitecourt and everybody on that list is getting notifications, eventually you get people who just get notifications so they don't look at it. What was their concern? I know at the Protective Services, I believe Whitecourt detachment is looking at doing something for this region, but I think it would be a separate server than BARC. Councilor Martin?
Mr. Reeve, through to council, I guess, we used to get fan out texts and notifications of important county events or initiatives, and it's another form of communication tool. I know that it's not emergency related. I'm just wondering if we could continue that, or I don't know that we've received those types of messages for quite some time.
Councilor Whitten, I seen you had your hand up there.
Just back to like Councilor Kukin and stuff, they've taken this technology for these cameras from the corporate side. And they have commercial from all the commercial side, and they brought it into private. And right now they're working on their cameras now to the calving end for the farmers and stuff like that. So right now this workshop was pretty much geared towards the private end and to the rural instead of towards the commercial. So they're trying to promote themselves to the smaller people instead of the commercial side. So
thank you.
Councilor Kukin?
Yeah, I think the workshop the intent of this workshop was to provide information as to how you could take care of your own security. I don't think it was a broad-based public type of notification piece.
Yeah.
What was interesting was that there were some myths that were kind of settled, that you had to have signage for video surveillance, which you don't have to have. And the RCMP actually were the ones that were there that qualified that. And the other one is that they can actually, this technology is actually accepted as usable for litigation. So I think there's a difference here. I think this is just to present a product that has some value. I don't think it would cross the line. I think the workshop itself would definitely be, if they would invite those guys to come over here, there would be no crossover.
No, and my comment was in regards to notifications through the BARC system.
Yeah. No, I don't think that was the intent.
No. Okay. Councilor McNeil?
Thanks. Through the chair to Councilor Colgan and I guess Councilor Whitten. I'm just curious, you guys had mentioned potentially a $1,500 price point. Did they get into, is that equipment purchase, Or, and then there's a monthly subscription, or did they cover any of that kind of?
There is no monthly prescription.
Really?
I think it was equipment purchase.
Yeah.
And we looked into it from the agricultural side, and for security, there's also government grants available to subsidize that, so.
Just as a follow-up, would you guys, or one of you guys be able to maybe share the name of the company for, that we can get it in the council correspondence package for our next meeting, so that the public can also have access to it?
Councillor St. Martin.
Mr. Reeve, through to Councillor Kluken, you had mentioned about growth, and I'm sorry, I forget the name of the tourism website. That's my question is, would there be value in having that group come and present to council? Or
Absolutely.
both groups?
Absolutely, because I mean, it is fundamentally, we no longer are operating in the same vein, and it took us probably the full 4 years that I've been on that board to change the growth board had not evolved with the way that the system was working, the modern system was working. So we took a lot of time and we spent a lot of energy and dollars to do engagement sessions that entertained many of the municipalities and private sector people to figure out, you know, what organization, where an organization like this would fit within the municipal landscape. And quite frankly, the way that it was running was not effective. So we took all of that engagement information and those things that we did to come up with a new governance model, to have a better understanding of how we would be able to support both the tourism sector that municipalities are working on, plus connect the industry with municipal government and the community, which is something that isn't happening now. So, you know, we have a completely different model, but we've been having a really difficult time actually having anybody interested in it here. Not a problem with any of the other communities, including Whitecourt, but it seems that we haven't had that invitation from our own administration here.
Councillor St. Martin.
Just follow up, would you be willing to make a motion to that effect?
Sure. Yeah, I would definitely move that the Growth Alberta Partnership would make a presentation to council here, and there would be some team members that would do that whenever there's time on an agenda for it.
Councillor Neal, speaking to his motion.
Speaking to the motion, I'd also be very interested in seeing that, especially because of the tie-in with, or potential with Community Futures and their RIAMS project. It's nice to have a good understanding of what all the regional bodies are doing, and then I could be able to potentially take that information back to our board at Community Futures.
Okay, so motion on the floor to have growth come to a future agenda meeting. Any other discussion? Ms. Kugel, speaking to your motion.
Yes, to speak to the motion, yeah, that's exactly what we're doing is we've reached out and we have a meeting set up, I believe, with Community Futures on exactly that. And it is just the reason is that we're seeking information as to how we align with the economic development strategies that are in the region.
With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Councillor St. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. Do we need a motion to invite the security company to a future council meeting as well?
Councillor Whitten.
I would, I guess they would probably be more than happy to come to here, but I mean, I think it would be beneficial if it was like an open house. Like to the public, like not just to council. So I mean, it would probably be better if it was set up like a workshop, just like Bark did, so that you could get the community members involved in it as opposed with just council.
Councillor St. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve, through to Councillor Whitten or Councillor Kluken. So we should probably pass a motion directing administration to arrange a public open house with this company. I don't know the name, if you wanna include that in a motion.
Yeah. Oh, geez, okay, go ahead.
Councillor Neal?
Just speaking to that, just wondering, would that be a great opportunity to just have an in general protective services? Or does protective services already have like an open house scheduled of some description? So for public engagement, kind of tie it all together.
Mr. Ferris?
Through the chair to Councilor McNeil, there isn't anything specifically planned right now for protective services. We do anticipate in the next couple months there will be particularly related to fire, but nothing that is currently scheduled for acreage protection or along those veins.
Just, I know we wanna get a notice of motion or a motion on the floor here to do, but we don't know the name of the security company. We don't have a lot of the other information. My recommendation would be that we have administration bring back the information, and then when we have that, we can proceed with trying to plan something. And we already have that, our information is supposed to be coming back, so. Do we just, with council, do we need any other discussion on this then, or should we, or again, my recommendation is to wait until we get the information that was provided through that workshop in a correspondence item.
So through the chair, the item will be provided as a correspondence item, but we would be bringing it. It would be in that general correspondence item that you see every month. You could make the motion now directing us to prepare. I don't think you need to name the consultants, as long as we say as long as the motion's indicating that administration has to prepare a workshop similar to the one that Bart presented. I think that's enough for us to work on, based on the discussion.
Okay, Councillor St. Martin?
I can make that motion then. That council direct administration to arrange a workshop similar to the workshop held with Barhead and Area Regional
Crime Coalition
held on security for rural.
It was a security technology workshop.
There you go. Security technology workshop.
And the company was Precision Cam.
Can you include that in the motion, the name of the company?
If I can get administration to read back what we have listed as a motion.
Yeah, that council directs administration to arrange a workshop similar with directs administration to arrange a workshop with Precision Cam similar to the one provided by BARC, Barhead Regional Crime Coalition.
Motion on the floor, discussion to that motion. Seeing a call the question, all in favor?
I was just curious if we should put a timeline on that, or is there?
You know, we're dealing with a third party here, we'll also have to see what their timelines, bring back the recommendations and we'll. Any other further discussion on Councillor Kuchen's report? I'm gonna go through mine quick here. We had the ICF workshop with the town. It was really nice having a solicitor in the room and being able to run through the information with both communities and have the same messaging. So hopefully that relays going forward that we have the same, I guess, general understanding of what we're working with. I was able to participate in Lobster Fest with Rotary. I was auctioned off along with Mayor Ray Hiltz for serving tables for a couple hours. A lot of fun, raised an extra $1,100 off the auction there. Looked like a really good event. I've never taken or participated in one before and it was well worth the time. Was asked to show up the Anselmo Egg Barbecue here, the spring barbecue, and give some welcoming remarks from the county. It's always a really well attended event. Woodlands Library Board, I made the last part of the meeting here, just busy schedule, but got there and got all of the highlights on what they've been doing and what's coming up. And I know with Bill 28, there's been a lot of discussions around kind of how that plays out through YRL. Anyways, they've been sending a lot of notifications on how it's going to affect libraries. It's gone through the second reading now in the House, so they're expecting that to move through. And with the YRL, also part of the discussion at the Woodlands or County Library Board is there is going to be a increase coming. I believe it's going to be a vote held through the YRL membership, which typically is what it's been in the past with their director committee as far as proceeding with the increase. I do believe it is going to be proceeding with an increase. It's been years since they've actually increased.
We are now setting the pace for 2027. Now, this particular plan, we've coordinated this one here effectively with the communication team. And I'm not very sure whether we've all gone through the plan, but the plan is before you, okay, it's already on the board. I would just highlight a few areas on this plan. That is on page, the hybrid participation method based on what a councillor directed us to do. So you can see with the hybrid participation method, it provides that opportunity, which of course includes the budget survey, the open house, those come and go budget engagements, printed posters, and once the whole package is approved, of course, we'll attach the survey to QR code to be out there as well. to capture what we need or what is required. Which of course this provides now very clear, actionable insight to support the 2027 budget. But we are also seeking for recommendation from council. Then that is on Appendix A. So this is the survey once approved with recommendations and additions from council. We are going to run it through the Survey Monkey, have the QR code, and then put it forward. Then if you remember the wheel when I was talking about it going throughout the year, when it comes to February, we now have another feedback. What did we hear based on the interim budget? And I think that is the Appendix B, where we have the interim budget feedback survey questions. And you can see now with those survey questions, we shortened them to about 16 of them. Now, I think without talking much, I will just open the floor for council for feedback so that we can incorporate what we could have missed.
All right, thank you, Mr. Orwa. Start with Councillor Whitten and Councillor St. Martin.
Just through the chair to John and the administrative staff, great job. This is absolutely fantastic. You guys really outdone yourself in this. It's simple, it's to the point. It's very easy to read and to go through, and I do believe that all the residents are gonna go towards this because it's so simple. Really good job.
Councillor St. Martin.
I just want to echo Councillor Whitten. Really good job. I like that the pictorials are in there because people learn different ways.
Could push this back foreseeably, given we're coming to summer here next month, possibly 2 to 3 months. When we get to the summer months, we have one council meeting a month, it's not 2. By the time, Councillor St. Martin?
I guess I can make the motion and then we can have the discussion, debate on that. I think we can have that committee meeting fairly quick and have this back to the next regular meeting in May. I wouldn't envision it taking 2 to 3 months.
And I don't think we would get it in front of council before June. That's Councillor McNeil.
I'd just like to speak to that as well, and same thing first, love the report. I think it's very, very well done. I also would like to see it go back to the finance and committee on the questions, because there is some tweaking. For example, with the questions where it says municipal services are most important, which municipal services are most important to you? Anywhere it says select up to 3, I'd like to see those ones changed to prioritize all that are there. I think that would give us more info, because if we ask our residents which 3 are important, we pretty well know they're gonna give us roads, probably protective services and fire emergency or something like that. You know, so I think that giving those ratings would give us more valuable information. And I concur that I think that it's something that we could do quickly and have back within 2 weeks or a month. The other big concern that I have with this that isn't it isn't administration's, fault on this, but because we don't have our strategic plan completed. So this whole budgeting process, there's nothing here that refers to our strategic priorities. And in looking at that, by rolling this out this way without even referencing our strategic priorities or our strategic plan, I'm concerned that we're gonna be into 2028 before we're really addressing our strat plan and our budget. So.
Just through the chair to council, I think there's 2 things. I think the comments from yourself, Councillor McNeil, about
to make this perfect right away. I think this is going to be a work in progress to tweak those little things that you're gonna discover that might not work down the road. And I do, agree with administration. I would really like to see our residents see what work has been done and get some of this out as soon as we can. So from my perspective is I don't disagree with the fact that there's some little tweakings that need to be done. They're gonna be done, as we learn this process. But to put that much pressure on right now may not be something that we wanna do.
Councillor St. Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Reeves, through to council. Hearing administration's input, I definitely, if council would allow, we could approve the 2027 budget public participation plan as amended, because there has been some suggestions for amendments here. If council would be comfortable with the committee having a committee meeting, reviewing, I think the primary concerns is with the survey questions. If we could incorporate the survey committee's recommendations for changes as part of the amended part of this motion, I think we could do this in a fairly quick time frame.
Councillor McNeil?
Thank you. Just to clarify, through the chair to Councillor St. Martin, that would mean
to Councillor St. Martin, can we not address the couple problem questions now and then come February, that's where we can really incorporate our strategic plan into the survey with the second survey coming out?
I agree, and my fear, if we make a motion now to adopt as amended, and we send it to a committee, and there's a whole bunch of changes in that structure or the questions that come out, none of the rest of council has had the opportunity to see it and see what we've adopted. I would not be in favor of that. Councillor McNeil and then Mr. Ferris.
Okay, thank you. My biggest concern on the questions is just the prioritization. So realistically, I could be comfortable with the prioritization, and the CEO had already mentioned, referring to those strategic items, so for the pillars, at least if they're included in the documentation, then when residents are going through, they're gonna be getting clear messaging coming forward out of that. So I don't think it has to be broken down into nitty gritty, like you said, so I could be comfortable if we make those two amendments.
Mr. Ferris.
Through the chair to everyone, I think the cleanest way is, as Councillor McNeil indicated, change those questions so it's prioritized, so you're not having to pick three. There is nothing in this plan that prevents us from speaking about strategic plans, strategic pillars at all. So yes, having a preamble within the survey at the start is important, but I think the other important thing to note is between early May and February of next year, there is a lot of engagement. And we can ensure that throughout those engagements, we can speak to the pillars and the strategic priorities of council as part of the budget discussion. We can put the little preambles before the survey, but as long as we continue that continuity throughout the whole engagement, saying these are our priorities as Woodlands County, I think that addresses the concerns about the silence within the exact survey questions.
Councillor McNeil.
Thank you through the chair. I do have one other question I would like to add, would be an open-ended question where it's an optional question, what else would you like us to know?
Sure.
And then they could type it in or leave it blank.
Absolutely.
Through the brief to Councillor McNeil, I believe in both, maybe not the interim budget survey, but I believe in the first one, we do have at the end, it is an open question, just asking, are there any other priorities that council should be moving on, so.
Sorry, I might have missed it.
Number 16.
Okay, we're on the same page.
My apologies, I missed that one.
Okay, any further discussion or any new in this administration?
Agreeing to council in general, I agree with CEO Ferris, there's a lot of engagement opportunities, there's open houses, there's you can also update the engagement website with more information as the strategic plan comes, so this is it can be a living engagement process throughout the year where we can build on what we're communicating to them.
Is Councillor St. Martin.
Mr. Reeves, through to administration, I guess in the future, if we could have this stuff flow through the Finance and Taxation Committee. I understand it's a timing issue right now, and with that being said, I'm willing to make the motion that council approve the 2027 budget public participation plan as amended to include prioritization of some of the questions, to include strategic plan priorities when they're available, to include open-ended questions with each survey, and to include, where appropriate, did you know information.
If I get administration read that back, it's a long motion, so.
The council approved the 2027 public participation plan as amended to include prioritization of questions, strategic plan priorities, open-ended questions where applicable, and did you know facts as required.
So Councillor St. Martin, capture your motion.
Yes.
Any discussion to the motion? Councillor Wright.
Through the chair, just for clarification, the did you know isn't specifically to be in the survey, is that correct?
Not specifically in the survey.
Any further comments? Seeing I call the question, all in favor? It's carried. Next to 11D1 2026 Alberta Munis Convention invitation.
We received an invitation from the town of Whitecourt to invite two of council to the Alberta Munis Conference. It's here to let you pick who goes. I believe last time it was the Reeve and Deputy Reeve.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris, and in the interest of relationship building and giving everybody the experience to go to an Alberta Munis, I would recommend two different councillors this time. Councillor St. Martin?
Mr. Reeves, through to council, I am interested in attending as well.
Councillor McNeil?
I actually can't, my daughter's getting married right after that, but I would recommend that our Deputy Reeve, next Deputy Reeve, which I believe is, hopefully would be able to go.
Councillor St. Martin?
I would be interested because I've never been.
Just, and for the interest in fairness, just checking, is Councillor Wright, are you okay with this?
I'm
Okay, or, and Councillor Whitten?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, so we, if I get a motion to get or I guess to inform the town that we will have Councillor St. Martin and Councillor Kuchen. Councillor McNeil?
Sorry, I just had a quick question in related to this, was in the RFD when it says all expenses related to attendance be paid in accordance with the county's remuneration policy. My question through the chair to administration was to clarify the intent of that, if you were intending that it was to be paid for out of the councillor's professional development, or if this was considered to be extra, essentially.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor McNeil, the way it worked last time was the town paid for the hotel and admission, the county paid for the honorariums to attend.
Okay, so it's not professional development. Okay, thank you for clarifying, sorry.
I'll make the motion here that council appoint Councillor St. Martin and Councillor Kuchen as representatives to attend the 2026 Alberta Municipalities Annual Convention with the town of Whitecourt, and further that all expenses related to attendance be paid in accordance with the county's remuneration policy. Discussion to that motion? Call that question, all in favor? It's carried. 11D2 office closure.
Thank you, Chris. So annually, we do some type of at least partial day closure when it comes to staff engagement and just working together as a team building initiative. Last year it was a half day session. This year we're looking at something a little bit different, and to ensure there's enough time and daylight, we were hoping council would grant a full day office closure for a team building event for all our offices from the fort to Whitecourt office. If council is unwilling to do that, we ask that you at the very least give us the half day, but we'll leave it up to you and your discretion. But it's really good to build those relationships, see people that we don't always see, and get to know the people that are new. We have a whole lot of new people here, even with our seasonals, and it's good to get to know everyone.
Councillor Whitten?
No, through the chair to administration. With that, it's the middle of August and our seasonal workers are coming to an end because the summer's over, our students and everything else. So I'd be willing to move if there's no more questions.
Councillor St. Martin?
Mr. Reeve, through to administration, does council participate in this in any way? Like,
It should be just an administrative day.
I'm just wondering if we would flip burgers or do something for our staff that day.
You're more than welcome to come. We're happy to invite you. This year's event, we're planning to do it at the Mayor Thorpe Golf Club. And so that's the main reason for the full day. Getting all our staff on the links in a half day would be a little bit tight. But yeah, no, we're more than welcome to invite council and have you there as part of the team as well.
Councillor Whitten?
I'll move the council authorize the Woodlands County full day office closure of all Woodlands County offices on Friday, August 14th, 2026.
Councillor, discussion to the motion? So you call the question, all in favor? is carried. And if I can take a 10-minute recess, be back here at 11:25, that should allow council an opportunity to review the procedural bylaw. We can come to that one first when we come back at that. Let us know when we're off. Okay, brings us back to 7-1 bylaw 638-26, procedural bylaw, Mr. Ferris.
Thank you, Reed. Good. So this is here, I do know that some of council has some concerns on some of the sections, and just to ensure that section references are properly referenced, I just asked for first or maybe even second reading of the bylaw with us to bring it back at the next meeting to just verify the numbering with some of the section changes. There's concern that the referencing may be incorrect, and so we just ask for first and second reading if you'd like. If not, just first, and we'll bring it back and just verify those section numbers for you.
Mr. Ferris, Councillor McNeil.
Okay, so my comments are, and I actually have about a dozen of them. So on this one, the first one is clause 2U on page 22. So we had previously moved to remove informal written materials, and I see that's still here, so I'd like that removed. Clause 10, which is currently on page 24 of our package. I'd recommend we remove this, it's redundant, it's covered in clauses 12 and 15 below. So where it states in the absence of the reeve, or if the reeve is attending the meeting virtually, the deputy reeve shall preside over the meetings and exercise all the same powers, duties, and responsibilities that the reeve would be entitled to exercise if present. It's covered under deputy reeve shall chairs council meetings when the reeve is absent or unable to act, and in 15, the absence of the chair, or if the chair is attending virtually, the vice chair shall preside over meetings. So both of those items cover what's in 10 if 10's removed. Okay, clause number 16. Just one second. It states, the chair shall call the meeting to order by the chair at the time set for the meeting. I would recommend just removing by the chair the second time, it's redundant. Clause 29, which is at the bottom of page 25. I would recommend adding, so currently it states all secret ballots will be initialed by the CAO before the count is held. All ballots for secret ballot votes conducted at the organizational meeting are destroyed by the CAO or designate immediately after the results are declared. I would recommend adding, quote, once verified by both the CAO and the Legislative Services Manager or designates. So that we have two people that are looking at a secret ballot, just for transparency and so on. And we did discuss that previously in a meeting. Okay, the next one is clause 88. So it's actually clause 88F that I first refer to, where it states that the member does not exceed the maximum of 6 council and 3 governance and priority committee meetings via remote access per year. This is something that was in the old one, and because we now have doubled the amount of GMP meetings, and there's also a couple of changes there, but I would recommend that we change it to at least 6 GMP meetings, and I also would recommend add that increased virtual attendance may be provided at the discretion of council by resolution. And
Councillor Whitten, could you repeat that?
oh, sure. So under clause 88F, and this is for how people can attend virtually. So currently it says that you can attend only 6 council meetings and only 3 GMP meetings virtually. I'm recommending that we change it to 6 GMP meetings and 6 council meetings, and that the increased virtual attendance may be provided permission for increased virtual attendance may be provided at the discretion of council by resolution. And just before I defer to Councillor Whitten, might address his question on count in 88 above that, section D and E. It says, sorry, might be B. Bear with me. Oh, it's B, actually. 88B, it says, if the member is in a location with the county but is unable to attend the meeting for medical reasons. I think that's not necessary for us to have that in there because we've already addressed that they can attend virtually. As the same as E, is there's quorum of other members to ensure the meeting can continue should remote access to the meeting fail. If council chooses to keep this, we have not been following that so far. We have already had our meetings where we've had at least 4 councillors attending remotely. So for that reason, and for the ability of the meetings to attend, that's why I would also recommend moving E.
If I can, just given that we have a long list of councillor recommendations to go along with this, I wouldn't be willing to, number one, I don't have those listed in front of me side by side with what's written on here. I would recommend that we forward those to administration. Given these are your recommendations, these aren't all of council's, they still need to be adopted all by council. And I think maybe if we can be presented them side by side for a first viewing to see, it's just, we have so many coming through and following this with what you're saying and what's on here. I've already lost track of what the intent on a lot of these are. And I'm just checking with the rest of council, but I would rather see these, come forward with Councillor McNeil's list of recommendations, and then they can either be supported by the, or at least the majority of committee of council or not, before proceeding with another amendment to the bylaw. Councillor McNeil?
Okay, I would like to continue going through these and can provide them in writing so the council can be provided to them as well. And then that way, they are clear on what it is, and if there is a question the council has, that it gives them the opportunity to ask, so. Oh, sorry, I deferred to Councillor Witten first.
Through the chair to Councillor McNeil and to the rest of council and administration for F, where it says a member does not exceed the maximum of 6 council and 3 GMP committee meetings. If we could change that to like, cause I can't get to any GMP meetings because of my work schedule. They're the Wednesday before a council, or they are the Wednesday after a council meeting, and I'm working every Wednesday, like before a council meeting. So I would not be able to attend any of them personally. I have to do all of them via Teams. So I don't know how we get away from that.
Councillor McNeil?
Through the chair to Councillor Witten, what I would see, I agree with you, and I guess my question through to council would be, does council want to put a limit on virtual attendance at all? And if they don't, then we could actually remove clauses 88D, E, and F. And that would just make this a non-issue.
Councillor Witten?
I would definitely be in support of that, especially because we all are busy and we all want everything to go forward as possible, and we're held accountable for everything we do anyways, so I mean, it's not like we're shirking our duties or nothing like that, so.
And to that, I would recommend leaving those in there, and I understand meeting, but at the realizing there are circumstances that we can make allowances for, but if we remove that completely, there is nothing from stopping every one of the councillors in here from not coming to the meetings here. I know you can say, duties and responsibility, we're supposed to be here, but you could have a councillor then, because this is not just our bylaw, this will be a bylaw proceeding down the line, where you could have a councillor who just decides they don't want to come to meetings and they're going to do them all virtually from at home. Councillor St. Martin? No, sorry. Councillor
Peter.
Where's the councillor?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think that through the chair to Councillor Witten, I think that, this is one of the places where we've made consideration for making sure that you can attend those meetings, and when this is impossible, I think there should be a level of discretion that we say, well, you know what, we'd rather have your input than to penalize you. So, I think there's some room there. But I do agree with you, Dave, that if we were to open this up, there may be it may be not a problem with this council, but we're creating a bylaw that would maybe be a problem with other councils.
Councillor McNeil?
Thank you, and thank you for that. That's where I was going with my original wording was to change to 6 GMP and 6 council and just add that in the increased virtual attendance may be provided at the discretion of council by resolution, which would give us the option to just pass that resolution that Councillor Whitten attends all GMP virtually and we could address it and still hold that that level of control that you mentioned that you'd like. Okay, and
Councillor St. Martin?
sorry?
Mr. Reeve, through to administration, is it advisable that we pass a motion now authorizing Councillor Whitten's attendance to exceed the 3?
Through the chair, Councillor St. Martin. Yes, it's particularly with us now having the increased GMPs that have been by motion up until I think July. Having the monthly, it would be useful, particularly with our bylaws saying that he's already potentially exceeded it.
Mr. Reeve, I'm willing to make that motion after Councillor McNeil is finished.
Councillor McNeil?
Thank you. So moving on to clause 106. So, and this is, I'm asking for a little bit of discussion from this on council, is that, and I apologize because this was in previously and I did miss it when we were doing the other ones, but we have discussed this at numerous times about, it replaces the original clause 111 from the existing bylaw that allows for committee meetings may be audio and visually recorded. And what this does is, because when we had talked about, it was brought up about the lack of transparency and the walk back of transparency on Economic Development Committee meetings not being published, and that was not, or not being streamed, and that was not a decision of council. So I guess that's what I would be asking through to council to consider, is that with our discussion and with the committee is we would like to have the ability to may stream those, not saying that we want to stream every meeting, but this wording prevents it. And for that reason, what I'd be asking is if council would consider removing clause 106 and replacing it with clause 111 from our existing bylaw, which states may be audio and visually recorded. And if that's if council so agrees, then clause 107 would be recommended to be removed as well. Moving into clause 108. So the first sentence, use of audio or video recording devices by anyone other than the county for live streaming purposes is prohibited. This is something that administration's already doing this with various recordings of their own. And at a public meeting, I'm sure we have reporters and so on, or any member of the public can come in and record a meeting. We have no way to prevent them from doing that. So I would recommend that we remove the first sentence in that clause 108 and leave the rest of clause 108 as it is. Just simply because we can't enforce it, so it's not something I think that we should be putting in our bylaw. Moving on to clause 132. Which is on page 33 under notice of motion. This is simply just a word exchange, so 132 refers to a motion of notice, and if we could correct that to notice of motion, please. Then clause 136 down below. It was kind of a question. This one was changed from, previously it was administration shall act only on a direction that is contained in a resolution. And it was changed from resolution to motion. And I just wanted to add that I think we should have clarity on that, is that it's a motion carried by council. Because if the motion's defeated, then obviously it's not direction. Okay. Moving on to clause 178. Actually, sorry, clause 137. Sorry. So once again, clause 137, I recommend removing it. It actually, again, references informal written materials. And that was an addition clause that wasn't in our previous bylaw. Okay, moving on to then 178. Okay, under a motion to recess on 178, this is one that has been newly added. And I don't recall council having any discussion about this whatsoever. It's the chair will recess the meeting as soon as practical. The way that it has existed in our current bylaw and was in the bylaws that
control that a little bit, just to keep the flow of the meetings moving as well.
I respectfully agree but in that regard, but the concern and the reason that I've brought it forward is because we have already sat at this table and asked for recesses where people are, dying to go to the bathroom kind of thing, and it's been put off and it hasn't been brought up. So this is something that if it is emergent and, when it's brought up and the chair asks, can we wait until the end of this session? It gives that person the opportunity to say yes or no. And technically, I think that's why it was in the procedure bylaw, so that every member has the ability to make that emergent call if they need to, so.
And with this does not negate any member from making that call, and if it's an emergency, we could still do it. But if it's just because somebody wants to recess because they're tired or they wanna get up, doesn't specify in here what the recess is for or why they want to recess. If it's something that's crucial or emergency has to happen, yes, I'm sure that it would be passed by everybody or by the chair to move it.
Correct, but the motion.
This doesn't, if we don't put that in there, it also doesn't stop somebody, like I said, from being halfway through presenter saying, I wanna have a recess and having a recess.
Okay, then through the chair to the council, what it is, any member may move, the council may recess for a specific period is a call of a vote. So as one member of council, then you would have the ability to vote on that and agree or disagree, as the rest of council would. But by the chair recessing the meeting as soon as practicable, then it gives the chair a veto over the rest of council. So that's the concern with it. Okay, moving on. The next one is a former clause, and it would have been, I believe, 198. Bear with me for just a moment. Okay, bear with me for just a second. 78 in the current bylaw. Okay, so what's been removed, and again, this was not discussed at council, was the motion to receive for information, which was in our previous draft bylaw, and it's in our current bylaws, clause 178. It was in the former draft bylaw of this as 198, and it should be listed as 186. And I would be asking that council consider reinstating that. And my question through to administration would be, why was that removed? And why is it not in the RFD that it was removed?
So through the chair, my understanding is that was removed at the GMP meeting. It wasn't a change since the GMP meeting. Regarding a notice to accept of something as information, procedurally, we didn't feel it was necessarily within the procedure bylaw. Council has that authority regardless if it's in the item or not. It's immaterial in our opinion if it's included. If it's something council is set on including, we can incorporate it, but you have the authority always to accept anything for information.
If it's a motion that we are using and we have the authority to use it, I believe it should be in our procedure bylaw, just as all the other motions that are stated. It's currently in our bylaw, it was in our draft bylaw all along. So I would ask the council consider ensuring that that remains in the bylaw. So those are the items that I had brought up, that essentially, like I said, there's a couple of them that are new that we had not seen before. So for that reason, I would be asking, I guess, or prepared if there's no further discussion, to make a motion that I forward the amendments as Reeve Cush had recommended to administration. And as it was already noted, administration, we're waiting on potential corrections for the other ones, that I guess I would see if council was willing to recommend administration bring back these potential amendments for first reading at our next council meeting. I'm curious what the discussion is.
So discussion on the floor, bringing back amended bylaw. Councillor Whitten.
Through the chair to Councillor McNeil, I'm just wondering if it wouldn't be better if we just had that all in an email to cross-reference to everything before we have administration go through all of that work, just so that we can actually, cause that was a lot of information to take in. I mean, just so that we can see what we need to actually do, and then we can implement it the next meeting, or when timeline permits. So.
Any other comments from council? Right.
So through the chair to Councillor Whitten, just for clarification, you're asking Councillor McNeil to then provide us with her changes.
Yes.
For us to then go through, see what we agree and disagree with, then we will forward that to administration
Yes.
to implement.
Mm-hmm.
That's real good.
Yeah, I'm just curious, that, you know, being that this is good discussion, and I agree that, you know, that it needs to be looked at a little bit more because it's all new to us. But administration was asking for us to just at least give a reading to this, the first or second reading, because it will not be put into a bylaw. So I'm just curious as to what the council wants to do.
Looking for clarification, if we pass first reading of this and then come back with a large list of amendments to put in the bylaw, we're again gonna have to bring back another amended bylaw for reading again. So at this point, I don't see any purpose in having any of the readings, given that we have a counselor now, and just for clarification, though, I mean, this is essentially for all intents and purposes, the same bylaw that we passed at GNP, and we looked at it at GNP before that, and we've had other amendments and stuff over the last couple months.
Correct.
And now we have another list of amendments that have come out of over the last few weeks.
I can speak to that through the chair to council and administration. We have not seen this exact copy and we have not seen a clean copy. So that's part of the reason why we have multiple looks at some of these. And it's also part of the reason why we have 3 readings. So we have a substantial number of edits as well as, my ask for council to consider changes. So for those, I appreciate Councillor Whitten's comment that definitely I would like to circulate them to council so that they're fully informed and have the opportunity. So for that, my question through the chair to administration is what would be the best recommendation as far as, do we want to table this and then pick it off the table at the next meeting? And once council's had a chance to consider the proposed amendments and then make a potential resolution or motion at that meeting on the amendments, what's the most efficient?
Through the chair to Councilor McNeil, I think there's 2 aspects. One is the motion to accept your document or your comments as information. Then we'll make sure it gets referred out to everyone. And then the next item would be, I would just recommend you defer this bylaw until the next council meeting, and we'll make sure that it's incorporated accordingly.
Mr. Whitten?
Just through the chair to council, and I'd like Councillor Dean to have privy to all this as well, so I mean,
Absolutely.
for us to try and do something here without his information, I think is not fair to him as well, so.
Okay, Councillor McNeil?
Okay, based on the recommendation from administration, I'm prepared to move that council accept my comments for information and direct administration to send a copy out to council via email.
Thank you. Councillor St. Martin?
Just a friendly amendment to include the comments to draft bylaw 638-26 in the motion.
Thank you for your friendly amendment. Yes.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion to the motion? Seeing a call to question, all in favor? It's carried. Let's make a motion, Councillor St. Martin.
I'd like to move that council defer draft bylaw 638-26, being the procedural bylaw, to the next regular council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. Discussion to that motion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Is lunch here currently?
They're just pulling into the parking lot.
Councillor Wright?
To the chair, I guess, were we making a motion for Councillor Whitten with his attendance?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor St. Martin?
I'd like to move that council authorize Councillor Whitten to exceed the requirement under the operable procedural bylaw for GMP meetings via remote access.
Any councillor discussion to that motion? Seeing anything, call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Lunch is here. We'll take a break till 12:30. We do have Sage Analytic on at 12:30. Gives us just about a half hour.